Hello, I'm Kimberly Parnell. You're listening to Engaging Texas Families, a podcast of the Parent and Family Engagement Statewide Initiative of Texas. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Engaging Texas Families. Today, we're joined by Eric Gomez, the principal of West Plains High School, and Jarrod Robertson of Amarillo Student Crime Stoppers. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, so today we're diving into a pretty specific topic about prom. It occupies, I think, every parent's head this time of year. And so before we dive in, just a quick heads up. Today's episode does cover some sensitive topics, so if you have little ones nearby, you might want to save this podcast, but please make sure you come back and join us when you can. So it's always fun to talk about prom. It's a night of sharply dressed kids and sequins and high heels and girls trying to walk in those high heels. But for the people tasked with keeping our community safe, it's also a night of what ifs. Yep. Today's podcast is kind of a panel discussion about what that looks like. Jarrod, we talked earlier, you are the director of Amarillo Student Crime Stoppers. You also sit as the Region 10 Director of Student Crime Stoppers in the state of Texas. And you also have another seat in our community with Andrea's Project, which is a local campaign that combats drunk driving. So you have a lot of different hats.
I do.
We also say that you must not also be able to say no.
I can't say no at all.
This is where you are. Also, Eric, you are the principal at West Plains. And it's so interesting because I'm sure you watch social pressures unfold all day long, every day in our high school hallways. And so thanks for joining us. We're just going to have a candid conversation today that we feel like is pretty important. Why don't you guys start and tell us a little bit about your career and how you got to where you are.
Okay. Like you said, I'm Officer Jarrod Robertson. I'm a hometown boy, born and raised. And I started with the police department when I was 22 years old. I'm a lot older than that now, a lot.
Did you have hair then?
I did not have hair.
Okay,
yeah,
good to know.
No, I didn't.
You can't see him clearly on this audio version, but.
So I've been with the PD for 24 years. I was in liaison for 9 years at two of our local high schools. Then I took over Student Crime Stoppers in 2018. And like you said, I can't say no to anybody. So I do wear quite a few hats. It keeps me quite busy.
I'm sure it does. Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, not homegrown, but I'm a Panhandle boy. Grew up in Dalhart. Been in education for 21 years. It doesn't feel that long, except for when I say it. So I think we've run into each other on campuses here in Amarillo. Started out in Lubbock. Ended up in Amarillo, been in CISD, been in Bushland ISD, and now the principal of West Plains High School for the last 4 years.
Perfect. I think before we go any further, most importantly, we want our listeners to know that all three of us are parents. So we come at this from some different perspectives, but I think our heart at the end of this discussion is that we're all three parents, and we aren't just here to quote statistics and talk about school handbooks. We really are here to just have a conversation about sometimes what happens when our kids pull out of the driveway for an exciting night and the things that we see. We want this conversation to be informational, educational, and just help you maybe have a conversation with kiddos that you encounter, whether you're an educator or you're a parent, and just talk about how we can make memories safely and how the night won't end in a phone call at 2 a.m. That is a little bit scary for both parents and our kids. Eric, while our students are focusing on their outfits and their plans, you and your staff have started long before managing a massive logistical puzzle that probably feels like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle to you. From a school leadership perspective, could you walk us through what the planning and execution of a safe prom looks like?
Yeah, so we're planning now. We have a prom in a couple of weeks. We sit together and plan out where we need any kind of support, whether that's a dark corner. We split the bathrooms. The boys go to one side of the center, or where we have our prom. The girls go to the other side. So it goes down to picking students up in the parking lot and driving them in from a golf cart, but everything has a reason. We have a lot of our teachers lined up high-fiving the kids, but it's so that we can get close and personal to our students to make sure everything is fine before prom sets off. But yeah, it's we go through lots of different what-if scenarios and making sure that we have people in place everywhere that students may want to wander off to. But for the most part, we tell our teachers, engage with the students. You don't have to stand at the wall. Be a participant in prom. Don't dance with them, but be
Please
a participant. Don't. Just be around and have fun with the kids because it is a great night. You mentioned that they get dolled up and the boys, they're dressed to the nines and they're ready to have a good time. And prom is a lot of fun. So I encourage our teachers to go have fun with the students and be a part of prom.
Perfect. Well, after all the behind-the-scenes coordination that Eric and his team does, Jarrod, that's kind of when you step in as a member of law enforcement. You know that eventually when prom is over and the bubble stops and pops and those kids finish and head out into the parking lot, your logistics are probably just starting from a policing perspective. So what does the map look like on your end?
Well, on the police side of it, our liaison officers or our SRO officers are actually with the school during the beginning and usually all throughout prom and to the end. We rely on them a lot to be able to pick up stuff as kids are coming into the building. Are they talking funny? Are they walking funny? Are they not acting their normal selves? And that's how we use the liaison officers a lot, along with the school, just to be able to, hey, we know Johnny doesn't walk like that or talk like that. Yeah. Let's go talk to them and see what's going on. On the police side of it, unfortunately, we don't really have, we're not sitting out in the parking lot. We're not waiting.
Right.
Our involvement on the street side of it is when a phone call comes in. Through dispatch, hey, there's a traffic accident, hey, there's a big party going on. That's when we really get involved with it. And unfortunately, we have to go to the locations of wherever this is happening at, and we have to deal with whatever the officers are faced with. So that's really our involvement on the back side of it after the prom ends.
Perfect. You talked a little bit about distracted driving.
Uh-huh.
Tell us from your perspective, what does that look like?
It's not solely, it's not substances. It's not anything like that we're so concerned with. It's usually when kids go to prom, they don't go by themselves.
Right.
You've got a car full of kids, and we're having fun. We're all dressed up. We're having fun.
The music's loud.
We've got our phone. We've got our social media playing on our phone. That's more the distraction that we're concerned about, just because it's distracting you to what's going on the roadway. And it's, unfortunately, sometimes it can distract that driver enough to cause problems with the other traffic that's around them. So,
I think it's so interesting because I think sometimes our community members think when it's prom that there's kids and they're doing mischievous things. And I don't really think that is the intent. I think they're just solely distracted to a different level than we are daily when we drive in our car. There is the pressure of somebody sending a text because they want a picture and they want to know where we're going to go eat and whose house are we going to after this. And there's all the details, and our kids are just so naturally keyed up and excited that they just forget that, hey, I gotta pay attention to what's going on. And I think that multiplies for every individual that gets in the car.
Well, and being a parent and having kids in high school, we get that, little Johnny did this because of peer pressure. In my 24 years of law enforcement, my 9 years in school, peer pressure isn't what people think it is.
Right.
It's not deliberate. It's not intentional. It's not, hey, if you don't do this, we're gonna take you out back and beat you up or anything like that. It's more of an internal peer pressure that the kids have on themselves to be included, to be part of the group. And I think that's more that they put on themselves than from outside sources off of it.
Great. Well, we talked about distracted driving. Both of you can probably speak to also the kiddo who shows up. Maybe they've had a little bit of pregame activity before prom. One of you talked to us about what does that look like and what is your plan to address that?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that, but really to parlay on what was just said about distracted driving, you have to think about what these kids were doing beforehand, and they all meet to eat dinner, and then they take pictures for hours.
And hours.
This whole thing starts at about 11. When prom starts at not 7, I guess.
If you're a girl, it does.
Right.
If it's a guy, it probably starts at 4:30.
Yes, close to. But they're excited, and they have just taken beautiful photos. And you're right, they're sharing photos in the car, and then they're on Snapchat, and they're trying to take pictures of each other, and it's just a big excitement. Well, if you're around here, you've seen there's lots of traffic cones around. And maybe we didn't pay attention that this road has been open for a long time, but now closed. And I think that's where they get into. But we have some, for our students who may have had a little pregame, we have parameters set. We have people placed in very special positions. As far as the parking lot, one of our whole reasons for grabbing students out of their car and driving them in the golf cart to the very front is so that we know what they're doing. And when they pull up, we can say, hey, get in, we'll take you to the front. I usually stand outside and I high five every student and tell them how great they look and ask them, where you got the tie, or I love those shoes, or your dress is beautiful. And it's very strategic so that we can, at that point, call home and say, hey, I think we might have a problem here. But yeah, we definitely try to catch that before they even enter the building.
Got it. I think we know the statistics from places like AAA or MAD that one of the most dangerous time for teen drivers, and I don't know, Jarrod, is that 1/3 of the fatality accidents for teen drivers caused by alcohol happen between April and June. So it is a time of probably just not for prom, but graduation. There's a lot of factors that play in there. So it is something just to be on the lookout for.
It is. I mean, the warmer weather always brings out more stuff. For those kids that have the Jeep, the tops are coming off those Jeeps. For kids that have, trucks, we like to jump in the bed of the trucks and go riding around. I think that, during that time frame of early March to end of May, I mean, there's a lot of activities happening for those kids. You have spring break, you have graduation, you have baccalaureate, you have all kinds of different things that bring those kids out. And, that warmer weather and everything that's going on, I don't necessarily think that they're doing a lot of stuff that's causing these accidents. I think it's just normal because being out there driving. But the warmer weather makes them a little bit bolder. We roll those windows down, we crank that music up even louder, and I think that helps with the distraction on the roadway and why we see more accidents occurring during that time frame.
Sure. Jarrod, beyond road safety,
okay.
What does the data show regarding the risk of assault on prom night, and what are the specific red flags that parents and students should be aware of?
That was one of the things that I really wanted to see personally myself. So I got on our computer system and searched and searched and searched. And the problem with associating with sexual assault during those months is hard because, A, a lot of these kids are going to be juveniles.
Right.
A lot of these kids, the way that we have to report stuff is a lot different. Their identities are a lot more secured. And it was hard to find a correlation with the past 2 years of prom dates for the 6 high schools that we have here, opposed to the day after or a couple of days later. I can tell you that from the month in 2024, between March and into May, we saw 37 traffic accidents involving kids. You jump to 2025, we're over 50 traffic accidents, and that's easy to find because
There's probably one
Yeah,
today
I mean,
outside your
there's-
school. Yeah.
There is. I mean, high school parking lots
Yeah.
are bumper car lots. I mean, really. And that's one of the biggest things that I learned. I was involved in 2 of them myself as a high school student in a parking lot. And it was because I wasn't paying attention as I wanted to go eat. So,
Taco Villa was calling your name.
yeah, Taco Bell at that point in time.
yeah,
You remember the dollar menu? That was pretty awesome.
Those were the days.
So it was hard to break out, your salts and everything like that. The one thing that I do want to say is it's not necessarily, one pressuring another and stuff like that. It's more of if they say nothing, I guess it's yes. And it's not, the law doesn't see it that way. If there's nothing said, that's not consent on the law's part.
Right.
So be mindful of, and it can be as simple as just kissing. I mean, you can get simple assault charges forced on you for kissing somebody that doesn't want to be kissed. I mean, you've got to think outside. I mean, you've got to think. As a kid, a lot's changed since we were kids. We got away with a lot more criminal-wise than kids nowadays do. And I know kids don't want to educate themselves on this stuff. I know most parents don't want to educate themselves on this stuff, but you've got to, and it was when I was growing up, my dad sat me down and said, "Hey, Jarrod, you're a boy. You need to understand that you're a boy." I don't think it's necessarily that it's directed solely to boys anymore. I think you have to have that conversation with everybody.
Yeah.
So it was hard to pull that data, and I couldn't really get any concrete numbers off of the correlation between your assaults during that time frame, just because how secure everything is.
I think there's part of it too as parents. We're all 3 at this table have a boy and a girl, so we see it from both sides. I think there's part of it that is, it is exactly what you said. We have a conversation with the boys and the girls, because just because we went to prom together doesn't mean there's an expectation on anybody's part that there's anything more than we're going to prom. And I think it's an important conversation to have with our kids, and know that maybe if we end up somewhere where we didn't anticipate, what do I need to do to get out of it? And have that conversation before it actually happens, before our kids get into a situation that they can't get out of. Eric, you and I have had a conversation about code words.
Yeah.
For our kids, and a different conversation. Talk to us about that and just your advice as an administrator, but also from your parental perspective. What does that look like?
Yeah, we talk a lot at home about, I have a boy and a son and a daughter that are both high school age, but we talk about not letting one bad decision turn into several, turn into something you can't undo. And there might be a chance that you're in a situation that you don't want to be in. You talked about a situation of boy and girl. Just because the word no wasn't said, that means it was okay. You might find yourself in a situation you don't want to be in, and it's okay at that point to just send something back. Send me a text message that says, I'm sleepy, I'm tired, and blame it on me. Hey, my dad says I have to be home right now. My dad's upset. I missed my 7 o'clock check-in. He's upset. He's either going to find me or you're going to have to take me home. And those things are really simple, because if I'm a boy in a car, I'm taking the girl home now. But with that, it's a lot of there's chances to make bad choices, and kids will make bad choices. Yep. We all learn from bad mistakes or choices, and let's just prevent the continuous bad choice in a situation where there's something I can't undo anymore, and I had a chance for it to stop. So I always say, to my kids, blame it on me. Tell whoever you're with that I'm upset, and I'm either going to find you or you can take me home, and that works every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody wants to make the dad mad. Our kids, we had a code word, they could text it to us, and we were never huge stalkers. I don't want to call it that, but where we tracked our kids. But when there was the expectation, that is my cell phone. I pay for it. You don't pay for it. Yep. And as long as it's in your possession, those things will be on. And It is solely
Yep.
for your protection. And if you text me what that code word is or that one certain emoji, I'm going to ping your phone. I'm going to call you. We're going to figure out a way out of this. And it was much the same thing. We had the expectation that I was not going to ask. If they wanted to tell us, that was great. But we weren't going to ask for the information of why they wanted out of that situation. And it just gave them a safe way to say,
Right.
I don't want to be here anymore. This was something was happening here that I didn't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as going to Whataburger, but there's a bunch of people there making a ruckus, and you don't want to be a part of that.
Correct.
So I'm ready to go home. It doesn't have to be a terrible situation.
Right.
It can be any situation. And I try with my freshmen to talk through those little things of, you may be fishing with your friends, and you're not supposed to be there, and you know it. Call me, and I'll go help you out. I'll get you out of it. But we have also implemented a 24-hour rule. After 24 hours, I'm going to let you figure your story out, but we're going to talk about it because I don't want that same mistake to continue to happen. So let's talk through it. Let's talk about where you could have, went left when everybody else went right. And that's been helpful because now I'm in their minds. I understand what's going on. I see the pressures. I see the come on, you should come with us, or this, no one's going to care, or this is fine. A lot of times it's not.
Right. Jarrod, do you have anything to add on that?
I can remember growing up, Mom and Dad used to say, hey, don't do this. Don't do this. If you get caught doing this, you're in big trouble.
Right.
Don't do that because your kids have already shut you off when they hear that. Give them a way out. Give them an opportunity to make that phone call or to get a hold of somebody. And don't, like Eric said, don't get them out of there. Don't be mad. Be glad that they called you to begin
Absolutely.
with. And then give them the opportunity later to come to you and talk to you about it. I mean, obviously they recognize that they shouldn't be there. Obviously they recognize that there was some type of a problem that they made that initial call to you. Don't fault them for being there when they shouldn't have been there, but they made the decision to get out of there, and they made a decision to get out of there by contacting you, not somebody else, not another friend. They contacted their mom and dad like they're supposed to do,
right,
to get them out of there. So
I think at that point it builds trust instead of acting out of fear. And I think, there is this natural tendency, like we are given these kids and it is our job to protect them, but man, it's hard. It's a hard thing to build trust and it be a two-way street.
That's the only window you have into their world.
Absolutely.
Is conversations with them. And if you build that trust, you're going to get a lot more out of it.
Sure.
Like we talked about last time, you raise them for 18 years and you hope that you've raised them good enough that they're going to survive on their own and they're not going to completely destroy or wreck their lives. So you say fly, and you hope that they fly, and you hope that they do good. Yeah, we're all going to make errors. I still make a mistake. I get told all the time, oh, you probably shouldn't have done that. I agree, but that's how we learn. And one of the biggest things now that parents don't understand, and when I was a kid is, if my kids were going to do that, I want to be able to facilitate that for them. You can come here, you and your friends can come here. All of us parents have talked and we're good with it, but all of us parents aren't going to be there. And one of the big pushes now on the law side of it is it's called social hosting. So in 2020, the city of Amarillo adopted the social hosting ordinance. What that is if you are caught hosting an underage party, you're going to be fined for it. And not only are you going to be fined for the criminal offense of, supplying alcohol to minors if you're buying this stuff for them, but you can be charged civilly for every police officer that arrived there, every firefighter, every AMS worker or medical worker. You're going to be fined I can fine you for ice and glass, that you're putting ice, for each cup of ice that you stuck in a glass that you've just stuck out for somebody to get. Under the health and safety code, I can fine you for each cup of ice that you have. And so civilly, you can get a bill for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from the city. And at that point, have you ever owed the city money? They want their money.
Well, you're not going to get out of it.
So you're not going to get out of it. So, they can assess a lot of different deals, whether that be putting a lien on your home, your car, anything like that until they get their money, and they want it in 30 days. You have 30 days to pay that once that's assessed to you. So, parents, I understand that you want to facilitate whatever's going on. And granted, we're not saying that we're not condoning the drinking or providing the alcohol to anybody, and do whatever you feel that you need to do, but understand that kids are going to report it. Kids are going to contact Student Crime Stoppers. Kids are going to tell school administrators, hey, there's a big party going on here. Mm-hmm. And when the police show up and your mom and dad sitting there with your kid, okay, your kid's good.
Yeah.
You can allow your kid to drink.
But my kid isn't.
The other 50 kids in this house, even though their parents have given you permission, we're getting you for every single one of them that's within reach of alcohol. Everybody thinks MIP is minor in possession. Possession can be you're sitting at a table and you're within reach of an alcohol. You don't have to be drinking. If that officer believes that you can reach for that beer and potentially drink, you can be charged with minor in possession at that point. So minor in possession, MIC, minor in consumption. Consumption, we know what that is. You're drinking it. But it's that minor in possession with just in that reach. If it's in the back seat of the car and you're the front passenger and you're not drinking but everybody else is, if I stop you, everybody's getting an MIC and you can get an MIP because everybody in that car is intoxicated and we believe that you could reach for that, and then it's going to be up to you to prove that you didn't intend to drink. That's how hard that MIC and MIP, especially that MIP law is to prove. We can say that there's alcohol in that vehicle. We can say everybody else in that vehicle was intoxicated or had been drinking, and it was just a matter of time before you did. And you've got to prove that you had no intention of doing that with all that evidence stacked against you. So that's the problem, and that's where everybody's going now. Getting those Airbnbs for your kids, getting those hotel rooms for your kids to have parties, just know that you could be liable for that, and you could get a hefty fine for that.
Right, and that doesn't just, you spoke about what that looks like in Amarillo because that's where we are, but that rule and that law is transferable across the state. There are many other communities that also have that same law, correct?
Yeah. And one of the bad things is 2024, I hated that they did this, but the state of Texas got rid of curfews. There is no more curfews for kids under certain ages. There is on parks. The city can set a curfew for that park, but you can walk across the street at 4 o'clock in the morning and we can't touch you because there's not a curfew anymore.
Right.
So that throws, parents are starting to learn this and they're starting to find out and be home at midnight can change to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock because the police aren't out looking for you at that point in time because we can't do anything. So the nights are getting longer. There's a lot more things that can happen within the longer that you're out. The more opportunity, the more there's more things that can happen in that time frame, and there's not a lot of teeth that we have anymore to it. State legislature pulled all that back from us, so that curfew law is not out there anymore.
It's this old adage that your mom always said: "Nothing good happens
Yeah.
after 10:30."
Yeah.
It still rings true.
Exactly, it is.
Eric, if we took away alcohol, the pressure to party, all the crazy things out of prom night, what is one thing you're actually looking forward to?
Well, I think I mentioned it earlier. All the guys are dressed to the nines. They look great. They're cleaned up. They're handsome. The girls go out and pick the most beautiful dress they can find. A lot of times, it's the first real purchase of a dress until they get married.
Right.
It's a whole thing for them. They get to go out with mom and aunt and all the things and pick that dress out. So they're just glowing. They're big smiles. And the juniors and seniors especially, the juniors are kind of growing into that senior year. It's the goodbye with the seniors. So it is really our last chance to be around the kids and see them in that light and just that fun that they're having. And for the seniors, it's the start of the farewell, the farewell tour. They have prom and then a couple of award ceremonies, turn around twice, and they're sitting in chairs on the football field.
Right. Wow. What is one thing that you've seen, like maybe the coolest prom tradition that you've seen that is fun energy, but maybe doesn't have all the risk? Either one of you. That's a good question for either of you.
I think as I'm going back, they've started arriving in groups now. It's no longer the two walking down the red carpet, but they'll arrive in groups. And one thing that we've started to do is we'll announce them when they come in, and that's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. They come in with a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. That's probably one of my favorite parts, and something that I've seen that's just recently started to happen more and more.
Just arriving in groups. Jarrod, what about you?
For my own kids, we weren't the chaperones. We didn't go to the proms and everything. But when I got to attend the proms as the liaison officer for the schools, like Eric said, seeing those kids dressed, and you have these kids that walk around and they're just kind of, they're sad all the time, or they seem mad all the time and everything. And those nights they show up and they're smiling and they're happy.
No sweatpants or hoodies.
Yeah, no sweatpants or hoodies. They're not just getting out of bed and have that sad face. Mm-hmm. And it's really fun to watch them. Because it is. It's a night of where they can actually have kind of a adult, grown-up feel, kind of an event like they would see mom and dad go to.
Right. It's all about them.
Yeah. It is. It's all about them. So that was really fun to watch.
Yeah. I think there's so many parts of it, and depending on where your kid sits in the social circle, like it's exactly that. Prom is the universal thing, from the kid who wears sweatpants and hoodies and you have a hard time making a way into their social and emotional path, to the most popular football cheerleader person. It's the universal thing that everybody is the same for that night, I think. And
you don't really see the cliques on the dance floor.
Nope. I love it. Well, any closing thoughts from either one of you guys?
Thinking through the entire conversation that we've had and prom approaching, it's for the parents, just have early conversations. We do that with our students. We start talking about, don't do anything that'll ruin your walk to graduation. And for the parents especially, just have those conversations. Just ask a lot of questions, know where they're at.
I would say not the night of, but that week leading up to it, know where the start is, know where the end is.
And talk to the parents along the way.
And talk to the parents and confirm stories. Mm-hmm. Like I said, know where your kids are going to start out at and know where your kids are going to end up at. And like you said, we own those cell phones that they carry. A vast majority of those cell phones that they carry, we own. I wouldn't look at Live 360. Look at. I don't know what Apple's version is of it, or I don't know.
Find my
phone. Yeah. Know where they're at. If you're friends with your kids on social media, get on social media. Get on and just type in your, West Plains prom, and there's going to be videos popped up. Get on Snapchat and pull up that map and see that big red circle right in front of wherever they're at, and zoom into that, and you can kind of see kind of what's going on. So I would just say, know where it starts, know where it ends, and if they get in trouble, let them know that you're a safe place that they can call to help get them out of that trouble.
Yeah, trust but verify. That's what we always say. I trust you to go and do this thing, but I also may verify that you really are at the Gomez's house or at the Robertson's house. I'm going to call and make sure that that's really where you're having breakfast at 12:30 a.m. Well, I think we all have had a good conversation today about just setting clear boundaries, having good conversations before prom even starts, and just making a plan for our kids to stay safe. It's a night full of exciting times and interaction between our kids and our staff members. I appreciate both of you guys joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.